Hello everyone. Let's check this out if this working. I'm live. Sound is working. Hi, hello. I am looking for my scissor. There it is. If you are live with me, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. Hello, I'll give everyone a chance just to join us and wait on some notifications. I know some people set their notification. Hi, hello. Okay, if you are live, let me go to the live YouTube link, and I'm going to show you. If you are live, oops. Okay, if you are live with me, you can comment in the comment section. There's a live chat on the right hand side. I'm not sure what it looks like on mobile, but you can comment and you can say hello, and I can show you exactly where that is. There you go. There on the right hand side, you can say hello, and then I can see it right over here with me, and I can show it as you're chatting. So hello everyone, there you go. Lots of fun to know who's on, and if you have any questions you can ask questions. And today we are sewing a gift project. We've been sewing gift projects since I think the beginning of November. No, it is November, the beginning of October sometime. And we're making a little drawstring bag like this, and it is loads of fun. It opens up like that, so this is awesome for things like cosmetics, toys. You can make a big one. So I've actually emailed the instructions out if you're on the email list. And oh, there's still a Lego in. So it opens up like this, there you can see, and you can make a play mat with this. You can make any type of anything you want to just pull open, and it's a mat. You can do that. Excuse me. And I've sent the instructions out to cut your own, and this is what it looks like. So this is what this thing is always swapping around on me. Come on, there we go. There you can see that. Okay, so this is what it looks like. You can draw your own pattern. It is not complicated. Just follow the formula, please. I know it looks like a high school geometry over here, which is what sewing is. Sewing is a lot of high school geometry, but you just need to do the measurements, take the measurements, follow the formula, and I have linked this video in that document. So if you're watching the replay, let me know, say hi, and I am so excited to be sewing with you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am first going to show you how I drew the pattern, but I've already cut my fabric because I'm making another one exactly this size, because I have two Barbie doll obsessed girls who are definitely going to use this for some other Barbie thing. So it's very easy to close like that. You just pull the drawstrings. There you go. Look at that. Cute. And you can make it in any size, as I say. So I will definitely be making like a beach mat. I'm thinking of a beach mat because you can just have all the sand toys and everything in there, and you've got a bag to carry. So if you make that with maybe with toweling on one side, or a waterproof fabric for the wet sand, a picnic blanket, anything like that, that could be a very cool gift for someone. So I hope you will enjoy the sew along with me while I'm sewing. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I can see them if you drop them in the comments. And I like to switch my camera so you can focus on what I'm doing on my hands and not watch my back messy sewing room behind me, or the dog running past, or something like that. So I'm going to switch cameras. And we're back. Okay, you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to start with how to draw the pattern. And I recommend doing this on a piece of paper, a large piece of paper if you have one, purely because you may want to make more than one of these, and then you need to draw the same thing over and over onto your fabric. So to make any size, you need to decide on the final size you want. So the final size is how big it is when it's all opened up, like that, excluding this edge. You can ignore that. That gets added on. Let me open this. There you can see. So the final size, the final diameter would be the final width across like that. That is the final size you are going to be looking for. So you can decide on any size. I have a smallish paper here, so I will use something that can fit onto this page, and that is going to be the starting point. So let's go, let's say a 20 centimeters or 8 inches. 20 centimeters or 8 inches diameter. That means the entire size of the circle. And then you can approach it in two different ways. You can either find something that is actually that size and trace it, which is what I did. I happen to have a lid for a pot that was the exact size I needed. Or you are going to find the radius. So the radius is just the half of that, which, so this is if you're drawing this on a paper, which is 4 inches or 10 centimeters. And on a piece of paper, you're going to mark a quarter circle. So to mark that, measure down each side, measure the radius down each side, and then from the corner, we're using this corner as our starting point, make a whole bunch of little dots. You get compasses that can help you draw this. If you don't have one, this is an easy way to do it. So you're measuring the same distance from that corner at the top. And we're going to join the dots. And if you've ever made a circle skirt, you have probably already cut your fabric like this before. Okay, so I have a whole bunch of dots over there. I don't know if you can see them. They may be a bit light. But I am just going to join these dots to create my quarter circle. And that is going to be my pattern piece. So you can cut that out. And you can do this directly on your fabric. I'll show you how. Because you need to fold the fabric to cut it. So there you've created your pattern piece. And I will I'll just use my already cut fabric as an example. To cut your fabric, you're going to fold it in half and in half again. So this will be a square or a rectangle, whichever shape it is. And over here where you have your two folds on top of each other, and there you have another fold, not on your straight edges. You're just going to put this corner in that corner over there, pin it in place, and then cut around that rounded edge. So you folded it in 4, and when you unfold it, voila, you have your circle. Now to figure out how long you need these strips to be. First, a note on these strips. You'll see they're not laying completely flat. The reason for that is I did not use bias tape for this or bias binding. And if you use something that was cut on the bias, it will lay flat when you open it up. You can use bias tape for this. You don't need to use a straight strip of fabric, but for convenience sake, very easy. You can just cut a straight strip and attach it. It does work. It's not too difficult. Then to find out how long the strip of fabric needs to be, again, you need a little bit of high school geometry, and you are going to take the diameter of your circle that you had and mine was, what was that, 20 centimeters. So if you're working in inches, it's the same. And multiply it by 3.14. If you know that is pi. Welcome to sewing and math class. And then before you do that, I do recommend that you add a little bit of length. So these ends over there, these are hemmed. You're going to fold them in and hem before you attach them. So whatever length you get over here, I don't even have a calculator with me, is the total length right around the circumference of your circle. That's how long those strips need to be. But I recommend cutting 2 of them. So you have 2 openings like that. So you are just going to divide that number by 2 and add a little bit. So as you can see, this is very easy to do. This is not a tailored skirt or something. So you can round up, you can kind of wing it. Let's cut those 32 centimeters. Okay, 2 strips of fabric. That's what you need for the edge. So I have my circle already cut out. Then I have this long strip of fabric, which I have not cut to size. I have not even measured around because I've made this now once before and I kind of eyeballed it. That looks fine. This is one of those things, the more you make, the easier it gets. So this is actually too long, as you can see. These are too long. I'm going to shorten them. And you can just check on them to see whether they'll go around. That looks good. There's one longer than the other now. What's happening? No. Okay. And now we're going to get to sewing. So you can interface these. I did not, just because they're smaller bags. If you are sewing like a play mat, you'll probably want to interface it. And then something else I've added is I've added little handles. You can make these handles any length you want. I like to cut my fabric 3 inches wide. That's 8 centimeters about. Yes. And I like to cut my fabric 3 inches wide and then make these little handles. So I'm going to start with the handles, and I think I'll have the blue on the inside and this colorful fabric on the outside. If you are making something for like a cosmetics pouch or something like that, consider using waterproof fabric. Oops. So I'll start with my handles, and the handles of course are optional, just a easy to add addition. So this will be my outer fabric, and the handles get attached to the outer fabric. And I have one long strip that I'll just cut in half. So if you've never made any kind of handle before, it needs to be at least 4 times as wide as the final width. So this is my final width over there. And you can see it's about 4 times as wide. And then you fold it as you would bias binding in half, wrong sides together. And then in the raw edges toward the inside. You can of course use webbing, you could use ribbon, you could use bias tape. I like like to do one end and then the other. And then in half again. So you have folded your raw edges in and you're folding it in half again. And that is your strap. You do need to top stitch this closed to hold it in place. So I'm going to top stitch this down to close off that folded edge over there. I think I need to change my needle. It is so noisy. And I have been working with it a bit this morning. But let's see how far I get before it snaps thread on me. Okay, those are the straps. I've just top stitched it closed. You can stitch it on the other end too if you'd like. And I like to make one long strap and then just divide it in half. Less sewing feels like. And then I'm going to attach it to my circle. So to do this, I want to find the quarter point of the circle. And you can mark these any way you want. I'll just mark them with pins. You can also mark them with notches. So folding it in half. There I've added a pin and on the side too. And then just lining those pins up again. I have my other halfway mark on this side. And maybe I'll mark this one with a notch to show you. Just clipping a tiny little corner off. And then you can see easily match. Can you see that? It's so tiny. I've cut a little corner off there and you can see where the center is. And now I like to add, put the straps at the one end on each end, opposite each other. Just an equal distance apart. Double check your straps. You don't want them to be twisted. And I'll just do a measurement using my hand. Why not? So all I'm going to do is to stitch the straps down on the edges. And I'll do the same over here. Equal distance from that center point. And now I'm going to stitch the straps onto the circle. And I'm stitching inside the seam allowance, which on this pattern is 3/8 of an inch. You could use a quarter inch too if you're comfortable. I don't like sewing with a quarter inch. got a bobbin issues. Definitely need to change this poor needle. Okay, we'll do that in a moment. There we go. Hello, I see more people joining us. Hi. That's better. Okay. I've attached my straps. They're just stitched on there. All those raw edges will be caught inside of everything. So don't worry about them. I just want to change my needles. Find the right kind. I have so many. Universal. That's stretch. It's too thin. That's the one I'm looking for. Universal. That's one of the things I always buy when I see it at the fabric shop. I never skip buying needles. Needles and zips. If they've got a good selection, I'll always grab a few. Okay, let's see if that's better. Right, new sharp needle. Okay. The next thing to do now is to hem these strips. So I'm going to attach these straight strips to the rounded edge, which seems a bit counterintuitive. Remember, if you want the casing to lay flat, you need to use bias tape. And to attach these, I need to hem the edges first. So I just want to double check whether I'm happy with the length. You know, I may have shortened them too much now. No, they're good. Okay, so the first thing to do is to hem these raw edges, and you're folding it to the inside or to the wrong side of the fabric, and you need to hem all 4 edges. So do a double fold hem. You can, of course, make this with only one opening. I prefer 2. I find it's easier to use, easier to pull the drawstrings. Last one. And I'm going to stitch those down. And I've just realized I have blue thread in my machine, but it's okay. We'll call it an accent color. Okay, I've hemmed the edges and I need to create my casing. So to create the casing, I'm just going to fold these in half, wrong sides together, and iron it flat. Don't skip the pressing part because it might shift as you're sewing. So it really is best just to press these flat, wrong sides together. And you can see I've got quite a narrow casing here. If you're making a big, like a toy mat, I recommend you have a wider casing. It's just a bit stronger. This one is, I think this was a 3-inch, I can't remember, 3-inch casing. Yes, 3 inches. So I'm ironing them wrong sides together. And now I can attach them to the circle. So I'm still working with this one. I haven't added the lining yet. We'll do the lining last. And I'm going to add them or stitch them to the circle. And I like to start with the center point of the casing. And it's a good idea to use pins or clips. So I like to find the center of this casing and match it to the center of the circle. And I'm lining the raw edges up. So the folded edge is showing towards the inside. And I'll just pin this every inch or so. And as you're sewing, you are actually sewing on the bias for the rounded edge. So much of it is on the bias. So you may find that it feels like it moves as you're sewing the casing. So it is a good idea to have, there we go, to have pins to hold it in place. I was definitely a bit over eager when shortening this, and I knew it. You see, your gut feeling is so important in sewing. Okay, and all the way to the other side. And the same with the other one. So finding the center point, I'm going to do the exact same thing with the other casing. Don't worry too much if this does move around a bit as you're sewing. It will even out. Okay, time to start sewing. This is where your seam allowance comes in. I like to use a narrower seam allowance for this. And I want to try and turn this so you can see. Okay, I'm just going to start on one end and I'll stitch all the way around. No stretching or easing or gathering or pulling or anything is necessary here. Just attach it one to one because you've already hemmed the edge. And I like to backstitch right at the opening just to hold it in place. You know, when it's being pulled together, you don't want your casing to unravel or come loose. first one's attached. That's what it looks like. It's like a little edge standing up over there. I'll just do the other side now. So repeat on the other half of the circle, just stitch your casing to the edge. Okay, casing is attached. This is what it looks like. And everything is still on the right side of this fabric. There is the wrong side. And now I can attach the lining of this little bag or mat. Trying to think of all the ways I could use this. That's one of my favorite parts of these gift projects. I like to think of a bunch of ways to use it. So for the lining, you want to place your lining fabric right way down. So all the pretty sides are now together, right on top of this. And line up all the edges depending on how your cutting skills are. This will either fit or it won't. And then when you're stitching these raw edges together, you need to leave an opening to turn it out. Now try not to leave the opening here where you've got a whole lot of things going on. That's just unnecessary effort. So somewhere in the middle where everything's attached, you can just mark for an opening. I like to use red pins, and I know when I see a red pin, I need to stop. So I have a few red pins, and I only ever use them for this. So I've got my open edge, and then you're going to attach the raw edges, stitch right around them. Now, because your bottom layer already has the straight strip attached, it's not really going to do the stretching on the bias thing anymore, but your top layer could, because it's still cut on a circle. So what makes it easier to prevent this from stretching out is to sew with your lining, the part that's still stretching, towards the bottom, so the feed dogs of your machine can do the work. The feed dogs can feed it through and it won't stretch out as you're handling it. I'll just pin every here and there, but I'm going to let the machine do the work over here and keep it all moving smoothly. Of course, if you have many layers, you may want to use a walking foot. So if you have like lots of quilted layers or something like that, a walking foot may help you. So I'm going to sew with the outer layer on top and the lining at the bottom, and I'll start at the furthest red pin and stitch all the way around and then end at this pin. So I have an opening to turn everything out. And now I'm using a wider seam allowance. You don't have to, you can still use 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to use 1 centimeter, 3/8 of an inch, purely because I find it's easier to close the gap when I use a wider seam allowance. And as I go, I'm lifting this all up and just aligning my raw edges, and you'll notice that this is not stretching, this top part, so you can easily align the edges. This can get so long if you are making a play mat. Okay, I've reached the opening. Time to turn everything right way out. Now, depending on the fabric you've used, you may need to clip the curve. I'm using quite a thin cotton, so I found I don't need to do that. I can just go ahead and turn it all out. This one I used that. I also used a thin fabric. It was perfectly fine. It all lay flat. What I do recommend though is for this part over here, there, where you've got your opening, just cut your lining fabric, just the lining piece, at an angle. So just at an angle like this towards your stitches, just the seam allowance. I think I'm cutting through layers. There we go. And it helps hold that lining fabric inside. I find the lining is always the one that flops out. Let's do it for the other part too. And that just helps it to stay inside when you turn it out. I do that for all bags. I'm going to turn this right way out and press it flat and then top stitch. And there you can see it holds it in there a little bit better than usual. Although I think, there we go, that's easier. When it stands up, it's easier to get it in there. So there's your opening. And I am going to iron this all the way around, give it a good press. If you're not happy with the edge, if the edge is bulky and wavy, you can turn it back and clip those edges and just trim your seam allowances. I find it's not necessary on this thin fabric. And a good press sorts any issues out. We'll definitely be using these little pouches as little travel toy bags. Always helpful to have a little pouch of Lego or Barbie things around. And now I need to close up this edge. I'm just pressing that all to the inside. And I'll press it flat. There we go. And now I can top stitch. I like to top stitch all the way around. I just like it all to look the same. And I'll start at my opening so I can be sure that I've caught all the layers. There we go. And I'm going to top stitch, around this edge. And then I'll show you how to put the drawstring in. So that's what it looks like on the other side. Stitching right up close to that curve. I'm done. The bag is done. We need to add our drawstring. This is what it looks like. And I have the openings, as you can see. I've got my 2 openings. I've got my edge over there. This could do with a good press. I'll do it in a bit with a larger iron, I think. But look at that. Kind of looks like a plate, doesn't it? Okay. So now for the drawstring, you can use ribbon. I like to use ribbon. You can use ribbon or anything really. I think I'll use this dark blue. And you need 2 lengths of ribbon or string or cord, whatever you're using, because you'll thread 2 through. So they'll go in opposite directions, and it needs to be at least as long as the diameter. So let's see if I have these seam long enough. I need to find a safety pin. Huh. I have so many. Oh, hang on. Vodka, let's try that. I don't trust a bodkin. It's my least favorite sewing tool. But I suppose it's handy sometimes. So I'm just going to thread, starting on one side, I'll thread it completely through. My first piece of ribbon. So you need 2 pieces of ribbon, cord, whatever it is you're using. And it's going right through. So it's going into the other casing as well. And I do like to straighten this out as I go, just because I want the right length of string or ribbon. I think something like webbing would be great. If you can find a narrow or a cotton, even cotton tape. I think ribbon is a bit light for this job. Okay, so I've pulled it right through to one side. There you can see it's thread all the way through. And then on this end, I'm going to knot these 2 ends. Doesn't need to be too long. It just needs to be long enough to be able to catch it. But chances are it will end up being pulled in here at some point. So if you want, you can add a button or one of those drawstring little elasticated clips. I am going to knot these 2 pieces. So it will already work now. If you pull it from one side, it will already do the drawstring thing you want it to do. But I like to have the drawstring on both sides. So now you're going to do the opposite. You're going to start over here where you just threaded it all the way through earlier. And it's going to go straight through on that end. So now you're starting. This is the same way if you made the Bluebell backpack. This is the same way we did the backpack drawstring. And I'm done. So straight through there. Here I have my other knot. And I'm going to tie these ends together. And there you have it. You've got your drawstring bag. It's a bit floppy if it's got nothing in, but you can pull it together nonetheless. There you go. That's what it looks like. You can see the straps over there. If you like, you could lengthen these straps and make this for any other purpose. So it doesn't have anything to hold it down right now. And there you've got it. And this is the thing with the drawstring. You can't really get away from the long strings or ribbons. I like to just tuck them inside. And you've got your little pouch over there. And let me turn my camera up. Hello. Thank you. There, that's your little drawstring pouch. And I hope you have enjoyed this sew along. And if you've made something, please tag me, show me, share a photo. I would love to see your ideas. I'd love to see what you're using these for. They are so easy to make. And I think you can get quite creative. You can use them for a whole bunch of things. Okay. Thank you for joining me, friends. And thank you for watching the replay if you are watching the replay. And I will see you soon for our next sew along. And I hope you have lots of sewing in your future. And we will chat soon. Bye for now. Bye.